You could spend 50 pounds on turmeric capsules and greens powders, or you could spend under 30 on the whole foods that the actual research is based on. Here's the difference most people miss. Every major study on diet and inflammation, from the NIH-validated Dietary Inflammatory Index to Harvard's Anti-Inflammatory guidance, tested real food, not supplements: leafy greens, oily fish, berries, olive oil, nuts, and legumes. The compounds they contain work together in ways a capsule cannot replicate. This is a complete, costed UK supermarket grocery list that covers every anti-inflammatory food group the science highlights. The Dietary Inflammatory Index, a tool developed in 2009 and refined in 2014, scores the inflammatory potential of your overall diet using 45 food parameters. It does not measure supplement intake, it measures food. When Harvard's nutrition source describes the anti-inflammatory diet, it emphasizes that these foods provide phytochemicals, antioxidants, and fiber that work synergistically, preventing cellular stress, supporting gut bacteria, and slowing blood sugar spikes. No single extract replicates that web of interactions. A 50-pound monthly spend on curcumin capsules and greens powders buys you isolated compounds stripped from their food matrix. A 30-pound shop at Aldi or Tesco buys you the actual ingredients the research was conducted on. That is not a philosophical preference. It is a methodological fact. Every item on this list maps directly to one of the 8 anti-inflammatory components identified in the NIH-published Empirical Dietary Inflammatory Index. Oily fish sits at the center of every credible anti-inflammatory framework. Harvard Health names salmon, sardines, and mackerel as abundant sources of omega-3 fatty acids and notes that eating fatty fish is associated with lower levels of C-reactive protein, a key inflammatory marker in the blood. The NHS recommends 2 portions of oily fish per week. Sardines are the budget hero here. A pack of 4 tins of own-brand sardines costs around £1.60 at most UK supermarkets, giving you a full week of omega-3 rich protein. 2 tins of wild pink salmon, roughly 3 pounds, provide 2 generous meal portions. Frozen mackerel fillets, typically around £2.50 for a 400-gram pack, round out a third option. Total spend on this category, approximately £7. That covers your marine omega-3 intake for the entire week. The Empirical Dietary Inflammatory Index lists leafy green vegetables and dark yellow vegetables as 2 of its 8 core anti-inflammatory food groups. Harvard Health confirms that spinach, kale, and collard greens are loaded with vitamins A, C, E, and K, as well as magnesium, potassium, and protective phytochemicals. These vegetables are rich in polyphenols, compounds that studies have shown possess multiple anti-inflammatory properties and may improve the function of cells lining your blood vessels. At UK supermarket prices, a bag of spinach costs around 80 pence, a head of broccoli about 50 pence, and a bag of kale approximately £1. Frozen spinach and frozen broccoli, often under £1 per bag, stretch even further and retain comparable nutrient levels. Budget £5 here. You will have enough greens for daily servings across an entire week, which is exactly what the research calls for. Berries contain anthocyanins, the plant pigments responsible for their deep red and purple colors, which Harvard Health identifies as having an anti-inflammatory effect on cells. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries are all highlighted. Frozen berries are the smart buy. A 400-gram bag of frozen mixed berries costs roughly £1.50 at most supermarkets, and frozen fruit retains its antioxidant content effectively. Buy 2 bags for £3. Now, nuts and seeds. Harvard's research notes that consuming nuts is associated with reduced markers of inflammation. Walnuts and flax seeds are particularly valued as plant-based omega-3 sources. A bag of own-brand walnuts runs about £2, and a bag of flaxseed around £1.20. Add a bag of almonds at roughly 2 pounds. That is just over 5 pounds for berries and nuts combined, and 8 grams of fiber per cup from those raspberries and blackberries alone. Extra virgin olive oil is a cornerstone of Mediterranean pattern eating, the dietary model most extensively studied for its association with lower inflammatory markers across diverse populations. A 500 milliliter bottle of supermarket own brand extra virgin olive oil currently runs around £3.50 to £4 in UK shops, down from over £10 at the 2025 peak. That single bottle lasts 2 to 3 weeks of daily cooking and drizzling. Legumes deliver polyphenols and fiber at an extraordinary cost ratio. A tin of chickpeas, around 45 pence. Dried red lentils, 500 grams, approximately 75 pence. Stock up on 4 tins of mixed beans and a bag of lentils for roughly £3. Brown rice and porridge oats represent your whole grains, about £1.50 combined. This entire category lands near £8, covering daily servings of healthy fats, plant protein, and complex carbohydrates. The Dietary Inflammatory Index recognizes tea and coffee among its anti-inflammatory components. Harvard Health confirms that coffee contains polyphenols and other anti-inflammatory compounds, while green tea is rich in both polyphenols and antioxidants. A box of 80 green tea bags costs around £2. Ground turmeric, about £1 for a jar, provides curcumin, and ground ginger runs a similar price. Fresh garlic, roughly 30 pence a bulb, rounds out your anti-inflammatory spice shelf. Total for this category, under £4. Now the full tally. Oily fish, £7. Greens, £5. Berries and nuts, £5.20. Olive oil, legumes and grains, £8. Spices and tea, £4. Grand total, just over £29. Every food group flagged by the NIH-validated Dietary Inflammatory Index, covered for a week under the 30-pound mark. A grocery list is useful. A grocery list mapped to actual meals is transformational. Sardines on sourdough with spinach, that is lunch on Monday. Mackerel with brown rice, broccoli, and a turmeric ginger dressing, that is Wednesday dinner. Overnight oats with frozen berries, flaxseed, and a drizzle of honey. That is breakfast every morning for under 40 pence. The pattern is straightforward. 1 oily fish serving, 1 large portion of greens, 1 handful of nuts or seeds, 1 serving of legumes, and olive oil as your default cooking fat. Daily. That rhythm maps precisely to what Harvard calls the Mediterranean-style diet, which is high in fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, fish, and healthy oils. No exotic ingredients, no subscription powders, just ordinary food, bought intentionally and eaten consistently. That is what the science actually asks you to do.